When my son Polani told me this last fall that he would be able to come and spend about a week and a half with me here or somewhere else, I thought, well, I'm going to take the time off and we're going to hang out and do something fun. And at first we weren't quite sure what we were going to do or where we were going to go. And I said, you know what? Why don't you just come here? I'll take a staycation. I'll take 2 weeks off, so I'll get a bunch of stuff done before you get here, and I'll still have plenty of time after you're gone, and we will just enjoy Kauai. And that's what we did. And as usual, we spent a lot of time outdoors going on adventures. And there's two in particular that really stand out in my mind. One was a friend of mine by the name of Jeff. He's a captain on one of the local boating excursions. And we went on a boat ride all along the south coast. And I've been out on boats a few times before, but we actually started at Port Allen. And as we were walking towards the boat, the sun hadn't come up yet. It was just starting to, and we already saw our first whale spouting before we even got on the boat. So I knew it was going to be a wonderful day. As we got on the boat and got situated and started heading out, the weather was beautiful on the entire south shore. We could look out that direction to the west and saw that there was tons of clouds, and Jeff got on as the captain needs to and said, well, we're kind of hoping that, we're going to head up to the North Shore, but, it's raining like crazy up there. So we're just going to enjoy the South Shore. And it was really one of the most fun things I had ever done before, because we got to see all of the South Shore by boat from Port Allen all the way to Nauwili Harbor. And as we were out at Nauwili looking at Lihue, there were a couple of whales that just decided to come along and put on a show for us. And they were breaching all the way out of the water, not too far away, and they were slapping their tails and just playing around and having a wonderful, wonderful time. And I thought I had died and gone to heaven. We also saw a bunch of dolphins that came right up to the boat as we were going rather fast, and right by the bow they came and just played with the boat, and we got to see them really close. And of course, that was fun, really fun. We went snorkeling, found a nice little spot, and just snorkeled with a bunch of beautiful fish and a whole bunch of honu, the big green sea turtles, and they were just kind of all around us. And a couple people actually saw a manta ray, and I kind of saw it in the distance, but by the time I got out there, it was gone. But the guy that was snorkeling with a manta ray, you would have thought he was on cloud nine. He was just like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Now, I've done that before, so I know what it feels like. But one of my favorite parts of the whole day was as we were probably a little past Poipu heading towards Nauwili, I saw a flying fish come out of the water, and those are one of my favorite things. And they're about this big, and they're fish with wings. Go figure. It's like, who ever thought of that? Well, we know, but this particular fish came out of the water just as I looked down to where it was. I had no idea I was going to see a flying fish, and it skimmed along the surface of the water for almost half a minute. And I thought, oh, what a treat. Many people have never seen a flying fish like that before. And I also noticed that there was a big seabird kind of like right up here, kind of watching the flying fish. And I thought, uh-oh, if another flying fish comes out, it's a goner. And that's exactly what happened. I saw this flying fish coming, and that bird was waiting. It was this giant seabird, and it just swooped down and got that flying fish before we knew what happened. And I thought, oh my gosh, it never even occurred to me that birds eat flying fish. To me, it's like things with wings shouldn't eat things with wings. But I mean, it was like, go figure. But anyway, I got to see something special like that. And Polani and I just had a blast being outdoors from, basically right before the sun came up till sometime between 1 and 2 in the afternoon. The other thing that we did when he was here in January is we hiked into the crater of Waialeale. Now, people have said Waialeale is the wettest spot on Earth, and other people have said, oh no, there's a couple other places in the world, like in Asia or South Pacific, that are a little bit wetter. But basically, Waialeale is one of the wettest places on Earth, and that's why Kauai is so green. We love the fact that, it's so beautiful here on the Garden Island. And Polani was telling me about another time he walked into Waialeale Crater, and I thought, that's going to be a little too much for me. It's a really hard, long hike. And he said, Dad, you can do it. And if not now, when? I mean, I just thought, okay, let's try it, but knowing that if I need to turn around, I will. Well, it was one of those rare days where it was blue sky pretty much the whole way in. It didn't rain at all, and the whole way out. It was just a spectacular hike. One of the most beautiful hikes I've ever seen in my life. But we left home probably a little before 9 in the morning, and we parked the car about 10 o'clock. We basically follow the Wailua River up as far as it's safe to go. And a couple places I thought, okay, I'm pretty sure we can make it over this one. And then I said, no, we're not going through that stream. That might be the end of the car, and I'm not willing to do that. So we still had another mile or so, or at least an hour hike, that is, before we even got to the trailhead. And right as we're taking off our shoes to wade across the river, a Jeep pulled up, four-wheel drive. There's two people in the front, and go figure, they were from Palo Alto and Menlo Park, where I grew up, and it was kind of like they just knew we needed a ride across the river. But anyway, they actually lived about 2 blocks from my childhood home. Anyway, it was just neat, spending time with these people from Menlo Park and Palo Alto. But they gave us a ride for that last hour that we would have walked, so we saved a bunch of time there and a lot of energy. But I tell you, it was a pretty grueling hike to get all the way into the crater. And you get to a certain point and you look around you, and it looks like sheer vertical green cliffs everywhere with waterfalls coming down. It was just really breathtaking. Well, when we got up to where you can actually see inside the crater, that was spectacular. We hiked all the way to what is called the Weeping Wall, and it's just this sheer face, probably about the size of this building, just rock with waterfalls coming down everywhere on it. I mean, the whole thing was soaking wet, and I just thought, look what we get to see. Look where we get to be. And Palani said, "Dad, look up." And I looked up, and he said, "That's the blue hole." So on the rare days, which hardly ever happens, when it's a blue sky at Waialeale Crater, it looks like a blue hole, and that's why it's called the blue hole. So imagine green, giant cliffs all around, and you look up, and there's blue. I mean, it was just breathtaking. So anyway, we start hiking back, and I'm thinking, okay, no matter what it's like getting back, no matter how tired I may get, this was worth it. And all of a sudden, I got a cramp in my leg, and it was a bad one. And it was a long hike back. Basically, I said we left our car at 10 in the morning. We didn't get back till 10 at night. And we knew that there's a good chance we were going to need flashlights. So Palani has his great headlamp, and we had other flashlights and brought extra batteries and extra water just to be safe. But all of a sudden, I'm thinking, okay, I can get back. It's just, I'll just kind of shake it out. And all of a sudden, my other leg cramped. And I thought, this is going to be a really long hike. And I just, I've had that happen before. And you just kind of do what you need to do, and the cramps kind of go away, but they're always kind of there, too. So we had probably 2 or 3 hours left, and Palani's watching me get a little slower and a little slower, and then he had to make some comment about, how it's going to probably take us 12 hours, how he once did that in 6 hours, and I'm thinking, okay, I didn't need to hear that. I know I'm getting old, but anyway, at one point he said, "Dad, are you going to make it?" And I was like, I looked at him like, in shock, and I said, "Of course I'm going to make it. I'm not spending the night out here." And I said, "I don't care what time we get back, but I'm going to make it." So anyway, he's looking at me and just thinking, oh, this is going to be a long night. So anyway, we get back, and what really caught my attention was the energy that I had on that day, which, I didn't get enough sleep that night. We got up a little earlier than normal, and that was a grueling hike, but I had the energy to get back to the car, and I thought, I think a lot of it had to be with the fact that I was out in one of the most beautiful places on earth, and it just filled me with energy. I thought, okay, it's a bit painful, it's hard, but I had the energy, and it just kind of came from, I think, being out in nature and being around such stunning beauty. And as I was thinking about that same week when we went out on the boat, I kind of thought the same thing. We got up really early, and I'm usually up at 5:30. Anyway, 6 o'clock is sleeping in for me, but I got up early so I could do my stretch and breakfast and all the things I normally do before we headed out to go to the boat. And I thought, okay, I got up early, I went to bed late, the sun's been shining on us all day, I should be exhausted. But I was, even at the end of the day, when we got back on the boat, I was exhilarated. And I just kept thinking, well, who wouldn't be? Whales practically flying out of the water, and fish that literally are flying out of the water, and dolphins, and swimming with honu. I just thought there's something about nature and natural beauty and wonder that just fills us with energy. And it occurred to me as I was reading the psalm that Grace Eleanor so eloquently read for us just a little while ago, that psalm starts with beauty, natural beauty, and wonder, and ends with all this human energy. Let me read just a little bit of what Grace Eleanor read to you, just in case you missed it. It is the Holy One who sits above the circle of the earth, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to live in. And regarding the stars and the planets, Isaiah proclaims, "Lift up your eyes on high and see who created these, the one who brings out their host and numbers them, calling them all by name, because God is great in strength, mighty in power, not one is missing." And regarding everything on the earth, Isaiah asks the rhetorical question and then answers it right away. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. Now, I'm quite partial to the beauty of the Hawaiian Islands. I mean, it just seems like everywhere I go, there's just beauty everywhere. But I'm pretty sure that if we open our eyes, we can see that beauty just about everywhere. Now, I think of the stuff I've seen here, the Halemaumau crater at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, where last year the lava lake in the crater came all the way up to the top, and we could see hot liquid lava as a lake of fire. It was just, there was so much awe that I felt that it was really, really hard to even go to sleep that night. I didn't want to leave. It seems like every once in a while, out in nature, something like that happens. But I'm remembering when I moved from Honolulu, from Hawaii the first time, to Miles City, Montana. And people often said to me, well, first of all, Alan, you know it's really cold there, right? And secondly, they said, oh, but aren't you lucky you get to go live in the beautiful Rocky Mountains of Montana? And then I explained to them, where I was living in Miles City, it was about as far away from the Rocky Mountains as you could get and still be in the state of Montana, and Montana is a huge state. I was out in the prairie, and it looked more like all of the Dakotas and most of eastern Wyoming. It was very, very flat, and I would tell people that, and they would go, oh, I'm sorry. When I got to Miles City, I'll never forget, I met one of the members of our church. His name was Duncan. And he said something like this, I love living here in one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I remember waiting for the punchline and thinking, okay, what's going on here? And I realized he wasn't joking. And then he went on to say, you know, you can go up on this little hill over here and you can see forever in just about every direction, and it is so freeing. There's no sense of confinement here. And just look at all the deer and the antelope playing. I looked at eastern Montana with brand new eyes right after I got there, and I remember thinking, it truly is beautiful. And I've been all over this country and so many places in the world where I thought, it's probably kind of common, kind of an average place. But all of a sudden, I just realized if I open my eyes, I can see beauty every place I go. I'm wondering if we're having an issue with my microphone, Chris, do you know? Okay, we're going to switch so that popping sound doesn't keep happening. So I turn that part off. Okay, I think everyone can hear me. So I'm not used to holding something in my hands, but I'm going to try this. I think I'll do okay. But truly, if we open our eyes and look around, there is beauty everywhere. And we can feel that sense of wonder and awe to a certain degree, even when we're in a place like this. But isn't it important to remember that God has created everything? And when we're outside and we open our eyes, we can just be in awe of it all. As I was reading Isaiah this week, preparing for today's sermon, I also realized that Isaiah seemed to get the fact that when we appreciate beauty, we have so much energy. For the first part of our passage that we read this morning is all about that creative energy and the natural beauty. And then it ends with human energy, actually one of my favorite scripture verses. And I thought I would just read that. And this is verses 28 through 31. The everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth, gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Now, I've heard that passage probably 100 times, and I have a beautiful monkey pod bowl that someone gave to me with that scripture inscribed on it. But this week was the first time that I made the connection between that passage and the first part of the passage, where it's all about natural beauty. And then, you know what, we have all this energy, and it just occurred to me how many times I have been tired, especially if I'm indoors, sitting in front of my computer or doing something that's kind of menial, just here's what I got to do. And I just feel like, oh, I need some coffee, or I just need to take a nap, or I'm not going to be able to get through this. I'm so tired. Sometimes just a walk in the yard will do it, but when I go down to the beach, and especially if I see whales or the Hawaiian monk seals or the honu, all of a sudden that energy that I have is just amazing. So I want you to think about your own energy and what it is that gives you the energy and maybe even a little excitement, a little more life that gives you whatever it takes to live more fully. To me, it's nature, and I think to most of us, we can relate to that. But I'm guessing that there's other things as well. One of the things that I do almost every morning after I wake up and have my devotional time, and I do a little bit of reading, some praying and meditating, and I have my cup of coffee and my bowl of oatmeal with blueberries. That's my pattern. I go into my studio and I watercolor, typically for close to an hour. I'm amazed at how much energy I have when I'm done watercoloring. In fact, I don't want to stop. I just want to keep going. But it's such a difference between waking up and just having such little energy and watercoloring. That just does it for me. And of course, I'm usually painting flowers and things in nature, but I was thinking today that there are certain things in my life that just work. And it may not work for other people. I'm also remembering how someone once told me, well, you know, the difference between an introvert and an extrovert is an introvert gets so much more of their energy from being around people, an extrovert does, and an introvert gets so much more of their energy being alone or being quiet, or maybe just by being with one person. And I thought, you know, we're all so different in terms of where our energy comes from. But you know, that energy is so important. So I invite you to spend some time this week thinking about where your energy comes from and to spend some time there, because I really believe that's where God is. And I think that that's where God wants you to be spending a lot of your time as well. Amen.